Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and one evening I decided to get on MMO Champion forum posts, like I always do, to see some of the other stuff that people are posting, look at some different discussions, look at the different comments, mostly regarding BFA. And while perusing MMO Champion, I came across this forum post that really just made me want to make a video on and discuss this. So I'm going to showcase the post real bit, I'm going to read it for a little bit, and then I want to give you guys my opinion on this aspect of World of Warcraft that I don't really take a lot of time to think about. And this is going to be a different kind of video, not just a PvP, PvE, or an update video. This is more of a real discussion video regarding World of Warcraft. So the forum post goes like this. Devs don't give a single damn about proper RPG aspects. This game can barely be called a proper RPG now. The devs only use the bare essentials so it can flow properly. Was questing tonight on my low level character and saw a level 14 hunter that looked like he was level 100. Apparently a recent change removed even more restrictions from mogging. Proper visual equipment progression seems to be something both the community at large and the devs don't give a single damn about. Trying to stay appropriate here so YouTube doesn't demonetize me. Just another change in the long list of them to make me care less about this game. I get it though, this game is old as dirt to the point where the devs and suits above them will basically trip over themselves to please as many people still playing as possible. Even if the changes are terrible from a game design standpoint, well, exception when it comes to class design, as the devs' egos are more important than anything in that area. I don't expect many people here to sympathize with me either, /rant. Now, a lot of people are either going to get two things out of this one. You are either going to be somebody who sympathizes with a man and says, you know what, yeah, let's take it back to vanilla. We need to take this game back to the good old days. And I completely understand that point. Or you might be somebody who says, oh man, this guy kind of sounds like he's QQing a little bit there. A little bit too much crying and weeping on forums. Not a huge fan, as that's what I've seen as the reaction to the forum post. So far, it has been great. I don't want to talk about the forum post itself. Nay, I don't even want to ridicule the person. What I do want to do is extract a main point out of the forum post and ask and answer. Is World of Warcraft that much of an RPG, and is it losing its RPG aspects? Now, I'm a huge fan of games like RPGs as well as MMOs. There's a reason why World of Warcraft ended up fitting the kind of preference that I've always wanted. MMOs type of feel, the idea that you're just not the hero, but you are a cog in a much bigger machine of things. I loved that whenever I played Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront was a game that me and my twin enjoyed. We didn't have any kind of online access back from a PlayStation 2, but we enjoyed the idea of you're just a soldier, part of an army in a Star Wars universe. But it was so awesome that you were so specialized. If you're a sniper, you're good only for basically sniping. If you are somebody who is with a rocket launcher, you have to be the guy destroying vehicles. That specialization, that feel that you are part of a greater, bigger plan was just one of the most coolest and indescribable feelings I've ever really had playing a video game. And then the RPG aspect of it all. I loved RPGs for the longest time. I like the idea that you start out basically as a complete loser of a character, and you really have to build yourself up. You really have to work the character up. You can be very much customizable. You can be the stealthy guy. You can be the strong, powerful dude. You can be the very intelligent guy with magic, and I really just kind of lean towards the swords and the magic, those kind of aspects. So games like Skyrim and of course Oblivion were really up my alley. Oblivion being, I think, my first true RPG that I've ever played. And the combination of both of those games ended up being World of Warcraft, a game that really just was under my nose for the longest time. As I was when I was younger, me and my twin thought, wow, we would never be some computer nerds. We'd never be PC gamers. Those guys sound nerdy. Those games sound like they take forever. We're going to be console gamers forever because that seems to be the better way. And I'm not even exaggerating. This is what me and my twin thought for the longest time. And now I have a World of Warcraft channel that I'm running, so, and here we are. You know what I mean? It's interesting how I guess life takes you when you look back. World of Warcraft ended up being a great experience for me, and I started out in kind of late-ish, if not mid-Cataclysm, when it was kind of going on the decline of the original glory that I had in Wrath of the Lich King, although still, I thought Cataclysm was a decent expansion. The RPG elements were present, and I remember every aspect of that. I remember the first time I got my first pair of shoulders. When you're questing and the first time you get your first pair of shoulders, is probably one of the most indescribable things I ever experienced in an MMO. It was like one of those trials where your character finally feels complete. Your character feels, I guess, wide enough, you know? It feels armored enough where the shoulders sometimes make the man. You know what I mean? And it's those aspects of the game, the customizability, the gemming, the deep enchanting for it, even that we had back in Cataclysm, a lot of those aspects really started going by the wayside. We saw a lot of it kind of starting in Mists of Pandaria, and it's understandable Blizzard is trying to mainstream the game. We saw the sub numbers, and I thought Mists of Pandaria was actually a pretty decent expansion. At first everybody was like, wow, pandas, but I thought in the long run that it ended up being a solid expansion. I thought the content was pretty good. I was mostly a PvP guy, and if I could enjoy the game while playing one of the most trash specs of the time, Combat Rogue, I mean, I would say it was a pretty decent expansion overall. Then we saw Warlords General, and that's where we saw a real big dip. Now, completely understandable that World of Warcraft, and I think it's pretty true even in Legion, lost a lot of those RPG aspects. The aspect of gear progression from the forum post, I do kind of agree with that. That part of feeling like you earned your gear. You are really going, even by your looks, from a complete noob to a more defined hero, to a more defined, I guess, character of stature, somebody who really earned their place in the world. It does kind of go by the wayside. And I would say, yeah, transmogs don't really help that either. Hell, when I got to Red Ridge Mountains and I got to my first inn, there's a guy sitting on the Riddler's Worm. I mean, here's a low-level character that's sitting on this high-res mount. Usually I'm so used to people having to go buy a mount for every single character from way back in the day. And now you have, right now, a person sitting on what would be normally a flying mount, a really unique, a really high-res looking mount in the game. And it just makes you think of those Korean MMOs way back in the day where people could buy some ridiculous mounts with literally cash shop. Except this is just a account that's just part of your account-bound system. And then when you talk about the talent systems, like vanilla-esque talent systems, that's all gone. It's more streamlined. Even stat-based, we can't really customize with our stats. Can't really do too crazy of jamming and enchanting for every single piece of gear. It's really streamlined. And I guess those RPG aspects, because it's so streamlined, kind of do go by the wayside. I think one of the biggest aspects of RPG, especially when you do character design and gear customizations and talent customizations, is the idea that the player can make wrong decisions. And I feel like in World of Warcraft, they try to take out as many possibilities for wrong decisions as they could. But who could have guessed that World of Warcraft Vanilla was the way to go? Who could have guessed that it would be as popular as it is now? Who could have guessed that years after making the vanilla World of Warcraft, after taking all these twists and turns of trying to kind of make this new RPG, or trying to continue to modify the RPG format to keep it live and kicking, that all people would really want to be excited about is vanilla World of Warcraft instead? Who could have thought that, what if Blizzard just kept doing the same thing they were doing for WoW Vanilla and just continued that into expansions, maintained the same quality, the same feel, the same combat systems, just expanding on the universe of basically WoW Vanilla without changing anything? None of those Cataclysm changes with LFR, none of those transmog changes, none of those pet battle changes, none of all those things that made it into World of Warcraft that we have today. Who knew that could have been the fate of World of Warcraft, and they could have been really popular without changing anything? But nobody really knew. Let's be honest, no one really knew just how popular it would be, and only in retrospect can we look back and say, wow, that was pretty damn good. And you could just look at people and just play vanilla WoW, that, let's say, play private servers, and they're like, wow, I really want to play this. Can you Blizzard make this? And then decide, all right, we're gonna make classic servers. Apparently there's a huge market of people that really want to get into stuff like that. Who could have known? You really can't. When you think about it, World of Warcraft for the longest time didn't really have too much competition. They had a few competitors in the MMORPG market, mostly in the MMO aspect of, you know, it's multiplayer, but the RPG aspect of World of Warcraft, and you had the WoW clones and the WoW killers coming out. You know, you had the WoWs, but then you also had your Final Fantasies, you also had your Rifts, you also had your Guild Wars 2s, you also had your WildStars, like any MMO you can think of that tried to cash in or try to compete with World of Warcraft. Whether the developers were just simply trying to make a quick buck on the rave that was MMORPGs, or games that were basically trying to take World of Warcraft's place. And while I'm not a huge fan of, you know, games just trying to be the WoW killer, I did like the ability for people to choose which MMO they liked. Now maybe you like the combat mechanics of one game, but maybe you like the class customization of another game. Maybe you like the questing and the storytelling of a third game. Or simply you were just a good old-fashioned WoW player. And the fact that there was so many choices, it was great. But as time went on, as Blizzard kept, I guess some people would say, devolving into a more simplified version of the game, into Mr. Pandaria, into World of Jenner, and kind of dipping its head out of the water in Legion, just at the very end of it. I feel that because of the lack of competition, because of the lack of people trying to do something new, something different, because of lack of innovation in the RPG aspect, it's almost like World of Warcraft themselves and Blizzard themselves had to do innovation. It's no secret that World of Warcraft has become a lot more casual of a game, and it's not a bad thing inherently, but it did spawn some things that are not enjoyed by a lot of the community. A lot of people still don't believe LFR should be a thing, while the casual community loves the idea that they can just hop into a raid on their busy work schedule. A lot of the people that played World of Warcraft for a while just don't like the idea of LFR. It kind of dirties up the original idea of a raid, what a raid should be. The fact that you had to gather so many people together, 40 people together, even 25 people on your server, in your guild, to go together and raid against certain bosses to take down these colossal foes, and the excitement of it all, the camaraderie of it all, it's what a lot of people were really into. And I guess not having those same aspects and kind of just be very much watered down, I could see from the aspect of somebody who is really into the game that that might not be what you enjoy, and a lot of people definitely gave it backlash. Then you have stuff like pet battles, another casual aspect. A lot of people didn't like the transmog section, the idea that you can transmog your gear, even though I always said no, you wouldn't need to transmog if the gear actually looked pretty good, instead of making us look like trash cans. Blizzard. I feel like it's pretty unanimous that sometimes Blizzard makes good ideas and good changes, and sometimes they have the patch 6.1, the selfie patch, and that's not a good idea. Nobody enjoyed it, nobody really liked it, and the fact that that's a patch, I mean, it's just inexcusable for a game like an MMO, let alone a game that is an RPG. We give Blizzard a lot of flack for every time they make a wrong decision, but and then again, who do they have to compete with? There's not really a lot of MMORPGs that are as big of caliber as World of Warcraft, as big of a name as World of Warcraft and Blizzard. I mean, the competition is just not there. There's definitely not as many games being churned out, not as many fresh ideas being added to the MMORPG genre. So it only makes sense for Blizzard to eventually start trying to poke around in the dark until they find a method that works, and there's probably going to be a lot of methods that simply do not work for their build, that simply do not work for the game. But you know what? At least they are trying. They made a lot of mistakes, and some of them are leveling. Leveling has always been a biggest issue in World of Warcraft. It just doesn't feel satisfying, it doesn't feel good, you don't really get to learn your class, you don't really get to have an experience. I think the first time you leveled in World of Warcraft was probably the best time you've ever leveled ever. Up until patch 735. In 735, Blizzard decided to backpedal on their theory of leveling and just trying to make it as painless and as quick of an experience as possible, instead of making it completely trivial and completely menial. Instead, what they did in 735 is they backpedaled on the theory and they made it more meaningful. They made questing with its scaling content a lot more harder, a lot more challenging as you continue to level. It really pushes the boundaries of how much DPS and how much tanking, how much of a healer you are, especially when you get in dungeons you really do get to test yourself. Because the content feels a lot harder, it feels a lot like you need to earn a lot of it. It feels like you really need to invest and put time, something an RPG have always required you to do. And with their content, with the backpedaling of scaling content and addition of allied races, they are going back and trying to make the world not as empty as it became, but trying to make it more lived in, giving people a reason to level. In the past, it was the reason just because you had a really cool character, and making a character was so complex, and people leveled for many reasons, but as of recent, there's not been a lot. Not a lot of new classes coming out, and if there is a new class, most of them have started basically at max level. The ability to just boost a character for money just means nothing to a lot of people, but the idea of allied races really makes the world more lived in. More people are running around, more people are actually doing quests, people are grouping up together despite their level to do quests together. The world, the old world, vanilla zones, BC zones, Wrath, Kata, Mop, all of them really do feel alive again because they gave people not only a change to the leveling system, but also a reason to level. So Blizzard is taking a lot of these casual aspects that a lot of people didn't like, and there's a lot of them still to get through. We'll have a long time before they delete LFR or do something different to the LFR system, or maybe even the pet battle system, or the transmog system that a lot of people complained about before. But Blizzard does care, and they are taking steps in the right direction to bring it back more towards an RPG. I do believe it is really hard to continue the idea and continue the RPG aspect of a game when you're basically almost the only one who is continuing to do it. You're almost the only one left who is continuing to make RPG type of games and RPG types of content. And I don't want to say Blizzard is the only one, because there are other competitors that are simply just not as plentiful as they once were. There used to be so many different games, but now the amount of them is in single digits, I believe. If not just simply double digits, maybe 10, maybe 20 that are competitive on a market. So in a way, Blizzard is basically trying to do whatever they can with World of Warcraft. The RPG aspect of it all. They try to go back and make it more casual friendly, and with the backpedaling they're doing for all that in Legion towards the end of it, as well as what we've seen in Warlords General, or BFA actually, with the stat scaling, the squish, the emphasis on classes, and I think they're just trying their best. I think they are making decisions, good decisions, right decisions towards an RPG element to really bring back the RPG element of what World of Warcraft used to be at one point. And it's going to be a long road ahead. I don't think they're going to be ever perfect about it, but as long as they're getting close enough, honestly, progress is progress, and that's what matters to me. Anyway, that's my kind of bit of a rant on the RPG aspect of World of Warcraft. It was a long video. I'm so sorry if it was too long. Kind of went on, I feel like, almost on a tangent. But I feel like World of Warcraft as an RPG, I don't think it'll ever be back unless you want to be playing Classic, but I think we should give Blizzard a bit of a break. They are trying to make it more of an RPG now. They are trying to backpedal a lot of decisions, and it's not going to be ever perfect because the game is just going to have to evolve. The same player that played way back in vanilla might not be the same player that's making today, but kind of got to make a little bit of calls here and there. Sometimes the calls will be bad, sometimes the calls will be good. But it still is a game that I can say that is my favorite game, and it's a game that I still enjoy to play to this day. Anyway, that's been my bit of a rant. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, like the video if you enjoyed. Go ahead and subscribe for regular videos. Go ahead and hit the notification bell down below because we're streaming some US 5v1v1 Horde duels. And if you guys want to participate in those, go ahead and hit the notification bell in order to be notified whenever that goes up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Let me know your thoughts on World of Warcraft. Do you really think it's an RPG? What are your thoughts on the future World of Warcraft as an RPG, and MMORPG, and the RPG elements of it, and all that jazz? Just let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another video.